From ancient empires to modern nations, discover the devastating mistakes that accidentally created our world. These fatal errors changed everything forever. 1. The wrong turn that started World War I. Imagine a single wrong turn changing the course of human history forever. That's exactly what happened on June 28, 1914, in Sarajevo when Archduke Franz Ferdinand's driver took a fatal detour. The heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne was visiting Bosnia when his motorcade accidentally turned down the wrong street, directly into the path of assassin Gavrilo Princip. This wasn't planned. Princip had actually given up on his mission and was grabbing a sandwich when fate delivered his target right to him. The driver's navigational error lasted mere seconds, but those moments triggered a chain reaction that would consume 4 empires and kill over 17 million people in the Great War. What started as a simple mistake in street directions became the spark that ignited World War I, reshaping the entire global political landscape. Without this wrong turn, the 20th century might have looked completely different, with monarchies still ruling Europe and millions of lives preserved. 2. Napoleon's fatal winter invasion of Russia. Napoleon Bonaparte made one of history's most catastrophic military mistakes when he decided to invade Russia in 1812, ignoring the brutal reality of Russian winters. The French emperor assembled the largest army in European history, over 600,000 men from across his empire, convinced he could conquer the vast Russian territory in a quick summer campaign. His generals warned him about the dangerous climate and Russia's scorched earth tactics, but Napoleon's ego and overconfidence clouded his judgment completely. The campaign began in June with overwhelming force, but the Russians retreated deeper into their homeland, burning everything behind them and leaving nothing for the advancing French army. When winter arrived early and with unprecedented brutality, Napoleon's magnificent Grande Armée was trapped in a frozen wasteland without adequate supplies or shelter. Less than 40,000 soldiers survived the retreat from Moscow, effectively ending Napoleon's dominance over Europe and leading directly to his downfall and exile, forever altering the balance of European power. 3. Hitler's disastrous two-front war strategy. Adolf Hitler committed one of the most devastating strategic blunders in military history when he broke his non-aggression pact and invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, creating the fatal two-front war that Nazi Germany couldn't sustain. Despite still fighting Britain in the West, Hitler convinced himself that he could quickly defeat Stalin's forces and secure vast Russian resources for his empire. His generals strongly advised against opening a second front, knowing it would stretch German forces beyond their limits and repeat Napoleon's catastrophic mistake. Operation Barbarossa initially seemed successful as German forces advanced deep into Soviet territory, but the brutal Russian winter and fierce Soviet resistance gradually turned the tide. By fighting simultaneously against the Soviets in the east and the Allies in the West, Hitler divided his military strength and resources when concentration was crucial for victory. This single decision sealed Nazi Germany's fate, leading to Hitler's suicide, Berlin's destruction, and the end of the Third Reich in 1945, fundamentally reshaping the global order. 4. The Titanic's ignored ice warnings. The sinking of the RMS Titanic on April 15, 1912, wasn't just an accident. It was the result of fatal human arrogance and multiple ignored warnings that cost over 1,500 lives. Captain Edward Smith and his crew received at least 6 ice warnings from other ships about dangerous icebergs in their path, yet they maintained full speed through the treacherous North Atlantic waters. The ship's designers had proclaimed Titanic unsinkable, creating a dangerous overconfidence that led to cutting corners on safety measures, including having insufficient lifeboats for all passengers and crew aboard. When lookouts finally spotted the massive iceberg at 11:40 p.m., it was already too late to avoid the collision that would tear open the ship's hull. The tragedy exposed the deadly combination of human hubris, poor safety regulations, and class discrimination that put profit over passenger lives. This disaster forever changed maritime safety laws, requiring enough lifeboats for everyone and establishing 24-hour radio watches, while serving as an eternal reminder that human arrogance can sink even the mightiest achievements. 5. Chamberlain's appeasement of Nazi Germany. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain made one of history's most catastrophic diplomatic mistakes when he chose appeasement over confrontation with Adolf Hitler, essentially handing Europe to Nazi Germany on a silver platter. In 1938, despite clear warnings about Hitler's aggressive intentions, Chamberlain signed the Munich Agreement, allowing Germany to annex Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland in exchange for Hitler's promise of peace for our time. This fatal decision sent a dangerous message to Hitler that Britain and France would not resist Nazi expansion, encouraging further aggression across Europe. Chamberlain genuinely believed he could reason with Hitler and avoid another world war through diplomatic compromise, but his naivety about Nazi intentions proved disastrously wrong. The policy of appeasement gave Hitler precious time to strengthen his military forces and prepare for the massive conflict that would consume the world. Within a year, Germany invaded Poland, triggering World War II and proving that Chamberlain's peaceful approach had actually made the war inevitable and far more devastating than earlier intervention might have been. 6. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, stands as one of history's most strategically disastrous mistakes, turning a regional conflict into a global catastrophe that ultimately sealed Japan's fate. Admiral Yamamoto and Japanese military leaders believed a surprise attack would cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet and force America into a quick negotiated peace, but they fatally misjudged American resolve and industrial capacity. The attack succeeded tactically, sinking battleships and killing over 2,400 Americans, but it achieved the opposite of its strategic goals by uniting a previously divided American public behind entering World War II. Japan's leaders failed to understand that attacking Pearl Harbor would awaken a sleeping industrial giant with unlimited resources and an unshakable determination for total victory. Instead of securing Japanese dominance in the Pacific, the attack brought the full might of American military and economic power into the war against the Axis powers. Within 4 years, Japan lay in ruins, occupied by American forces, with 2 atomic bombs having demonstrated the ultimate price of their strategic miscalculation at Pearl Harbor. 7. The Chernobyl nuclear reactor safety test. The Chernobyl nuclear disaster of April 26, 1986, wasn't caused by equipment failure alone. It was the result of fatal human errors during a routine safety test that became the worst nuclear accident in human history. Soviet reactor operators at Chernobyl Unit 4 were conducting a safety experiment to test emergency power systems, but they violated multiple safety protocols and ignored computer warnings about dangerous reactor conditions. The operators disabled crucial safety systems and pushed the reactor far beyond safe operating parameters, creating conditions that made a catastrophic explosion inevitable. When the reactor began showing signs of instability, instead of shutting down the test immediately, the operators continued their experiment, believing they could maintain control of the increasingly dangerous situation. The resulting explosion released radioactive material across Europe, contaminated vast areas of Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia, and forced the evacuation of over 100,000 people from the exclusion zone. This human error not only caused immediate deaths and long-term health effects, but also severely damaged public trust in nuclear power worldwide, fundamentally altering global energy policies for decades. 8. The rejection of Hitler from art school. One of history's most consequential rejections occurred in 1907 when the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts twice denied Adolf Hitler admission to their art program, a decision that inadvertently set in motion events leading to World War II and the Holocaust. The young Hitler was devastated by these rejections, as he had dreamed of becoming a professional artist and saw this as his path to success and recognition in Austrian society. Bitter and disillusioned, Hitler remained in Vienna as a struggling artist, where he was exposed to the anti-Semitic ideas of politicians like Karl Lueger and developed his twisted worldview during years of poverty and resentment. If Hitler had been accepted into art school, he might have become just another mediocre artist instead of turning to politics and eventually becoming the leader of Nazi Germany. The art professors who rejected Hitler couldn't have known that their decision would contribute to redirecting a failed artist toward a political path that would lead to the deaths of over 70 million people. This seemingly small academic decision demonstrates how individual choices can have unimaginably vast historical consequences that reshape the entire world.